I'm Kevin Thomas, Senior Pastor of Forest Lake United Methodist. Thank you for joining us as we discuss this week's lectionary readings. Today, let's talk about Matthew chapter 11, starting at verse 16. But to what will I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to one another. We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We wailed, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and you say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Look, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Yet wisdom is vindicated by her deeds. At that time Jesus said, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent, and have revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, for such was your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. In the first century, rabbis developed their own distinct sets of teachings. Each rabbi's teaching would include the 613 commandments of the law, plus his own interpretation of what those commandments mean. What does it mean to honor the Sabbath and keep it holy? What does honoring father and mother look like? Under what conditions is divorce allowed? These extensive teachings were referred to as the rabbi's yoke. Anyone who wanted to be a disciple of that rabbi was responsible for both memorizing and following the rabbi's yoke. Each disciple was expected to imitate the teacher. You can imagine that yokes could become quite burdensome. Many would have just been impossible to follow. Many of us grew up with similar sets of rules. I call them the don'ts. Most youth groups could recite them for you. Don't drink, don't cuss, don't do drugs, don't be promiscuous. The list varies from group to group, but it generally defines Christianity in terms of things we're not allowed to do. Those groups act as though Christianity is this spotless new outfit, and our job is to keep it clean. But what happens when we've done the don'ts? What happens when we've stained our baptismal clothes? Too many walk away from church, even from God. The task was too big, they failed, they're finished. To those of us who are overwhelmed by the yoke of the modern church, Christ says, Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus defines his yoke in the Great Commandment. Love God with our whole lives and love our neighbors as ourselves. With God's help, that's a lifestyle I can live into even when I've done the don'ts. Let's exchange the drudgery of religion for the joy of following Christ.